Even if you're a dirty slob, do not invite lowballers in the door with crappy-ass photos of your dust-covered fire hazard with a pile of your dirty socks in the background. It's no secret that Facebook is not as important as it used to be. It's basically become a high school reunion for Gen Xers or millennials. Now, it does have one feature left that is important to a lot of people, and that would be Facebook Marketplace. I've even met people in their teens and 20s who joined just to use Facebook Marketplace. Now, I happen to be on a bit of a mission to civilize, and recently, while shopping for parts for a PC test bench I was building, I noticed a trend amongst those selling their gaming PCs or PC parts. They were simply not being realistic about the stuff they were selling, or they were just doing a horrible job of trying to sell it. So, while I was already there doing my shopping, I thought I'd help whoever I could by dispensing some sage advice. Not shitting on them for a laugh or no reason, but actually trying to give them a leg up. My hope is they were able to move those items quicker or for more money, and maybe some of you will find this advice and observations useful. First up, we have this gentleman here. Right out the gate, extremely aggressive. Gaming PC, read description, $300. And then says this is not free. So I assume he had it listed as 0 to get attention, but then had to remind people it wasn't free. Don't do that, by the way. If it's, free, it's free. If it costs money, put the price up there. Putting $1 or free is just already you're going to put whoever's trying to buy from you on the wrong foot. Then they list the CPU as a Core i5-3700X and the rest of the stuff there. So I immediately messaged this person because I'm curious what's actually going on with this PC. I start off polite and then I try to find out what the CPU actually is because an i5-3700X doesn't exist, and I likened it to a Dodge Mustang, if that makes sense. And he admits he was just trying to sound smart. He actually did look into what the CPU was. It wasn't something I was looking for. And then I went a little further and tried to explain to him why I wasn't interested in it. Basically, what he had would amount kind of like one of these Dell Optiplex office PCs people are buying for, $50 to $100, throwing in a low-profile GPU and playing games. That's kind of where he was at. The other thing I wanted to point out to him was his photos were absolutely just awful. They, right up against the glass there's all that glare, clearly all that dust. I was like, if you give it a good cleaning, take some better photos, take that glass off, you might get a better response to your listing. And just to be cheeky about it, I actually sent him a link to one of my videos about PC cleaning. Here we have a guy selling an old EVGA GTX 1080. He's clearly copy and pasted some promotional language off of EVGA's website, and which can be useful because it's going to be accurate, but it's also phrased as if this is a new card. And if someone doesn't know a lot about PC parts and assumes this is new, they're going to be pretty disappointed. So you can see here he initially had it listed for $400 when I first saw the listing. So I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm not interested, but giving you a heads up, you can get these for about $50 to $100 on eBay. To which he replied, okay, $150. I wasn't kidding. I wasn't interested. But it appears clearly he took the advice and it's still listed there as at $150. Next up, we have an Alienware R14, Ryzen 9 5950X, and a RTX 3090 Ti. Now, admittedly, specs alone, it's a strong machine. Now, the seller claims they purchased this PC in 2022 for $7,364. I don't doubt that, but I think anybody who's built a PC is going to know that that's insanity. Now that I think about it, though, mid-pandemic GPU prices, maybe the 3090 is what, maybe. Anyway, I reached out to the person. I said, hey, I priced this out on Newegg. I think 3,000 might be a more realistic price for Facebook. I'm not currently in the market myself. Just thought I'd pass on the info. And I even included a screenshot from Newegg where I had built it out. He says, thanks for the comment, and asked if I was looking to build. And I said, no, I'm good. I was just trolling for parts and was trying to help. By the end of the conversation, he gave me a little love emoji on my message and thanked me for my advice. He has lowered the price to 4,000, so good luck to him. Okay, so this is one of the sketchier things I found while doing this. Someone actually posted this to a PC group I'm in, and they had found a 4090 that someone was selling for $1,000, but they weren't sure if it was legit. And right off the bat, a bunch of us noticed, yeah, something's wrong here. It's shrink wrapped, which you never see GPUs shrink wrapped. And the only thing on there that was indicating that it was a 4090 was this homemade label maker label that said RTX 4090. So that was off right from the beginning. So I assumed this guy was just trying to scam people. So I reached out to him pretending to be a seller in New York, even though I live in California, and tried to set up a buy, mainly to waste his time, to get him to drive all the way out there and not be able to scam somebody. He's trying to scam me, then he's not trying to scam somebody else. That was my logic. I think it was because somebody else on Facebook reported it as not authentic or a scam or something. The listing wasn't visible online anymore. He could see it, but no one else could. So I figured the jig was up. So I finally just put all the cards on the table and said, hey man, just so you know, that's not a 4090. I pointed out that nobody shrink wraps GPUs. And if you Google GTX 770, you're going to see an exact image of this GPU. So either somebody sold it to him as a 4090 and he got scammed, or he was trying to scam people on the internet. I don't know. It was hard to tell. But passing off a 770 as a 4090, pretty egregious attempt. Clearly doesn't know a lot about PCs. All right, I switched my focus to Florida, which some of you might consider cheating, but here we find a good gaming PC in Jacksonville. Runs amazing. PC is not for me. I don't know how to use it properly. That's a weird way to phrase that, but okay. Looking inside, you immediately can see how dirty it is here on this fan. Not very well kept, but I also noticed this green motherboard. They actually showed some of the specs on a screen, and it became pretty clear that this was an HP Omen or some other corporate pre-built that had a lot of proprietary stuff you were not going to be able to upgrade from. So I think even 600 for that would be pretty high for an i7 6700 and an unknown GPU. I don't understand people who take photos like this. I'm not really getting a sense of anything from this weird downward angle. It looks like there might be some good stuff in there, a 3060, a 12th gen i5. The overhead shots are not, the blue light is just blinding. And in fact, even for 200, I'm not going to meet up with this person. The bare feet in the photo are a non-starter for me. But since there was a 3060 in there, I did decide to reach out to them and maybe give them a bit of a hand. I pointed out that if that really is a 3060, those alone could go for about 200 if you were parting it out. So, maybe consider parting it out or raising your price. I don't know what they ended up doing. Okay, hold still. Jeez. Deplorable prison-like conditions. I mean, you've got a loose hard drive here on the bottom. You've got what appears to be an SSD just kind of floating there. These wires crossing over. Nothing about this feels safe. If you see something like this, don't go near it. Not judging, but totally judging. Okay, so here are my takeaways from this little experiment. If you are buying, compare used parts to used prices. Ask follow-up questions. Get clarification if you don't understand something in their listing. You'll also learn a little bit about the seller that way. Pay attention to what else the photos are telling you. Dirty rooms and dirty PCs are likely poorly maintained. You'll learn a lot from what's in the background. And join a PC enthusiast Facebook group, like this one. People there love giving their opinions and will definitely give you some useful feedback. Now, if you are selling, first off, let go of that emotional attachment you have to the money you spent on an item years ago. You're not going to get it back. Look at it this way. If you paid $500 for a GPU 2 years ago and sell it today for $200, then you rented a GPU for $300 for 2 years. Not a bad deal, considering actually renting something like a 75-inch TV for 2 years would cost you over twice that. That's true, I looked it up. Secondly, when pricing out your PC components, what you paid does not matter to the potential buyer. Price to potential usefulness is what matters to them. So even if you're selling, say, a top-of-the-line motherboard that you bought 6 years ago, how useful is that going to be to a potential buyer compared to, say, a 850-watt power supply of the same age? That might actually have further usefulness. So if you're upgrading your PC to a whole new generation and you're dumping your CPU, RAM, and motherboard, try to imagine how much you would pay for those components today and then adjust your expectations accordingly. And lastly, clean the damn thing. Please. Even if you're a dirty slob, do not invite lowballers in the door with crappy-ass photos of your dust-covered fire hazard with a pile of your dirty socks in the background. Just clean it, take some nice photos, it'll move a lot quicker. So, I hope this is useful to somebody, maybe you. Regardless, thanks for watching. See you next time.